down! Keep your hands where I can see them! Why were you reaching under the seat?
My hands are right here, officer. I wasn't reaching. I dropped my phone.
You got any weapons in the car? Anything sharp? Anything loaded?
No weapons, just me on the way.
License and registration, where are they?
In my purse on the passenger seat. I'll move forward when
Don't move yet, stay...
Before the story begins, take a moment to comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so others can see the story of calm, truth, and justice. It was a bright, sunny morning in Maplewood Heights, a quiet suburban neighborhood lined with well-kept homes. The kind of place where people jogged, walked their dogs, and waved at neighbors passing by. Everything looked normal, peaceful, safe, and serene. Jasmine Walker, a 29-year-old real estate agent, drove slowly up the street in her black SUV. She was headed to show a house to a potential buyer. Her long hair was tied neatly, her blazer crisp, and a professional smile ready for her client. She had her paperwork organized on the passenger seat, and her phone mounted on the dash with directions. Nothing about this day hinted at danger, until the flashing lights appeared behind her. Red, blue. Her heart skipped. She checked her mirrors. She was obeying all traffic rules. She wasn't speeding. Everything was legal, normal, proper. She pulled over to the side of the street, hands on the wheel, keeping calm. The police cruiser stopped fast behind her. The door opened. Officer Derek Shaw, mid-30s, tall and stiff, stepped out. His gaze was sharp, scanning, calculating. His hand hovered near his belt. License and registration, he said, voice clipped. Yes, sir, Jasmine replied, slowly reaching into her bag. She moved carefully, narrating her actions as she retrieved the documents. Her hands were visible the entire time. Shaw circled her vehicle, stopping at the driver's window. What are you doing here? He demanded. I'm a real estate agent, Jasmine said calmly, showing a house to a client. Shaw narrowed his eyes. Which house? 528 Maplewood Heights, she said. I have an appointment at 10 a.m. He glanced down at her paperwork, then back at her, suspicious. Do you have identification for client? Yes, she said. I'll show it when I meet them. Her voice remained steady, professional. Shaw shook his head. Step out of the vehicle. Jasmine's stomach tightened. She hesitated slightly. May I ask why, officer? No questions, Shaw barked. Step out. She complied, hands raised slightly as she stepped around the SUV. Her heart was racing, but her face remained calm. Across the street, neighbors paused to watch. One reached for their phone, red recording light blinking. Shaw stepped closer, keeping his distance just enough to intimidate. Do you have any weapons? No, sir, Jasmine said. Are you alone? Yes. Shaw's voice hardened. Stay right there. Hands visible. A car drove slowly past, tires crunching on the gravel. The potential buyer, unaware, watched from down the street. Jasmine knew she had to stay calm, professional, and careful. Every movement mattered. You don't look like you belong in this neighborhood, Shaw said, eyes scanning her face. I'm here for work, Jasmine said evenly, showing a house. I have an appointment. Shaw smirked. You expect me to believe that? Jasmine's lips pressed together. I understand your concern, officer. I'm following all rules. Here's my license and business card. She extended them slowly, deliberately. He glanced at the card and laughed, a short, dismissive chuckle that echoed across the quiet street. Do you expect me to trust this? He said. Jasmine's heartbeat quickened. She reached into her phone pocket. Officer, may I call my supervisor at the realty firm to verify the showing? Shaw's eyes narrowed. That won't be necessary. I insist, Jasmine said calmly. It's standard procedure. You can confirm the appointment. He hesitated. That pause was all it took. From across the street, a neighbor whispered into their phone. This is not right. Shaw's jaw clenched. He took a step back, unconsciously brushing his hand near his firearm, but didn't draw it. Tension filled the air like electricity. Jasmine exhaled slowly, steadying herself. She knew one call could change everything. She unlocked her phone, opened the Contacts app, and scrolled to her manager, Carla Simmons. She pressed call. The ringing echoed faintly. Shaw watched, clearly unsure of what was about to happen. This call, calm, factual, unflinching, was about ending the harassment in a way no one would forget. The ringing continued, filling the quiet street, until Carla Simmons, Jasmine's manager, picked up the phone. "Hi, Carla. It's Jasmine," she said calmly, keeping her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "I'm showing 528 Maplewood Heights, but I've been pulled over by a police officer. He's questioning me aggressively." From a corner of her eye, Jasmine noticed Officer Shaw shifting nervously, his stance tightening. The gun had stayed holstered, but the hand brushing near it was enough to make her pulse race. "Ma'am, who is this?" Shaw asked sharply, stepping a fraction closer. He wanted control, wanted compliance, but something about Jasmine's calm, deliberate movements unsettled him. "This is Carla Simmons, my manager," Jasmine replied without raising her voice. "I am verifying my appointment. Can you confirm that this showing is legitimate?" Shaw's brow furrowed. He squinted, watching the screen of her phone. "I don't need confirmation," he muttered. His tone was sharp, almost offensive. "Step aside." "I insist, officer," Jasmine said. "Please allow me to verify with my company. It's standard procedure for showings." Carla's calm voice now spoke through the line. "Officer, this is Carla Simmons. Jasmine Walker is scheduled to show 528 Maplewood Heights today at 10 a.m. She is on a legitimate assignment. You may verify with the office if necessary." Shaw froze. His eyes darted around, momentarily realizing there were neighbors watching. A woman across the street had her phone out, recording every movement. Other residents peeked from windows. The quiet suburban street had turned into a public stage. Jasmine stayed calm, holding the phone steady in front of her. "You can confirm the appointment," she repeated. "I provided all identification and documentation." Shaw's mouth opened. He wanted to argue, to assert authority. But the calm, factual words of her manager disarmed him. Carla continued, "Officer, any further questioning should be directed to the office. Please release Ms. Walker immediately. She is complying with all procedures." The pause stretched. Shaw's face tightened. His hand twitched near the holster, not fully drawing the gun. But the intimidation was there. Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't move quickly. She stayed composed, professional, and calm, a stark contrast to Shaw's growing discomfort. Finally, he stepped back, letting out a long, forced breath. You may return to your vehicle," he said, voice low. Jasmine moved slowly, gracefully, back to her SUV, keeping her hands visible at all times. She didn't slam the door. She didn't rush. She sat calmly, clutching her phone. From across the street, a neighbor muttered under their breath. Finally, Shaw's demeanor had changed. He wasn't confident anymore. Something about the calm authority over the phone, combined with witnesses and recordings, had shifted the balance. Jasmine placed the phone on the dash and took another deep breath. She knew the next few minutes would determine how quickly she could leave safely. Every movement, every word mattered. The potential buyer, who had been parked a block away, finally drove closer, ready to meet her, eyes wide from watching the confrontation unfold. Jasmine's professionalism, coupled with Carla's voice, had begun to turn the tide. Shaw swallowed hard. He took one last glance at the neighbors, then at Jasmine, and stepped back further toward his cruiser. The tension in his shoulders was obvious. He had lost control of the situation. The quiet suburban street, once peaceful, now hummed with the knowledge that one calm phone call had begun to dismantle a threatening situation. And Jasmine knew she had won the first round. The distant hum of a cruiser engine grew louder, and soon another police vehicle turned the corner. Its lights were on but muted, no sirens, just authority arriving quietly. Officer Derek Shaw noticed it immediately. His posture stiffened, his confidence from earlier vanishing. He had been used to controlling situations, but this time, every movement felt scrutinized, public, and undeniable. The driver's door of the cruiser opened, and out stepped Sergeant Melissa Grant, late 40s, poised, professional, and calm. Her uniform was immaculate, her badge gleaming in the morning sun. She scanned the scene before locking eyes on Jasmine. "Ma'am, are you okay?" she asked, her voice calm and steady but firm. "Yes." Jasmine replied, still seated in her SUV. I was pulled over without explanation and questioned aggressively. Sergeant Grant turned her attention to Shaw. Officer Shaw, explain the reason for this stop. Shaw opened his mouth, fumbling. I thought the vehicle looked suspicious. Suspicious? Grant's tone sharpened, just enough to make it clear this word had consequences. You pulled over a woman showing a legitimate property. Did she break any traffic laws? No, ma'am. Did she resist any lawful order? No, ma'am. Did she pose any threat? Shaw's jaw clenched. No, ma'am. Then why did you intimidate her, and why was your weapon hand near your holster? Grant asked, eyes unwavering. Shaw swallowed. I was trying to ensure safety. By pointing a gun at a professional showing a house? Grant's voice stayed calm, but her words cut deep. Did you review her documentation before escalating? Shaw hesitated. I didn't fully confirm. Across the street, neighbors had stopped filming, but whispers filled the air. Some shook their heads. Others frowned at the cruiser. The tension was palpable. Jasmine spoke up calmly. Sergeant, I provided my identification, my business card, and my manager confirmed the appointment over phone. I was following protocol the entire time. Grant nodded toward Jasmine. Thank you. Officer Shaw, you are relieved from this assignment. Return to your cruiser and wait for further instructions. Any further communication regarding this incident will be handled by the department. Shaw's face turned pale. He looked at Jasmine for a moment, then at the witnesses. The weight of his mistake was sinking in. Jasmine closed her SUV door slowly, remaining composed. She knew every eye was on her. The potential buyer had now parked nearby, watching from the car window. Sergeant Grant spoke one last time to Shaw before walking over to Jasmine. Ma'am, you are free to continue your work. I apologize for the harassment you experienced. Thank you, Jasmine said, her voice calm, professional, and composed. She knew this was the moment that changed everything. As she drove away toward the property she was showing, Shaw sat in his cruiser, stunned, realizing that one unprovoked act of intimidation had already set his career on a very different path. By mid-morning, the quiet suburban street had transformed. Neighbors came out of their homes, some shaking their heads, others quietly commenting to one another. Their phones, still recording, captured every angle of what had just occurred. Officer Shaw sat in his cruiser, hands gripping the wheel. The adrenaline that had fueled his arrogance was now replaced with unease. He had lost the control he assumed he always had. Every witness, every recording, every calm word from Jasmine and her manager now loomed over him like a shadow he could not shake. Sergeant Grant remained by Jasmine's SUV, taking notes and speaking quietly into radio. All body cam footage preserved. All witness statements being collected, she said. Across the street, a neighbor muttered, I can't believe he pulled a gun on her. Another added, all recorded. This is going to go straight to the department. Jasmine stepped out again briefly to retrieve her belongings from a passenger seat. She moved deliberately, unhurried, professional. Every motion reinforced the contrast between her composed demeanor and Shaw's faltering presence. Grant walked over to Shaw, who was now nervously avoiding eye contact. Officer, your behavior during this stop is under formal review. You intimidated a civilian without probable cause, and witnesses and recordings confirm this, she said, her tone firm and unmistakable. Shaw swallowed hard, trying to formulate a response. I was following protocol, he stammered. Grant shook her head slightly. Protocol does not give you the right to harass, intimidate, or endanger someone. This incident will be reported to Internal Affairs and reviewed by the city attorney. Shaw's hands trembled slightly. The realization of the magnitude of his mistake was settling in. Every witness, every camera, every phone recording could and would be used against him. Meanwhile, Jasmine's phone buzzed. Her manager, Carla Simmons, had sent confirmation that the recording and documentation were safely uploaded to the company's server. There was no way this incident could be misrepresented. Jasmine walked back to her SUV one last time and sat down. She took a deep breath and started the engine. The potential buyer, who had been quietly observing, waved from across the street. Jasmine waved back, her focus never wavering. Sergeant Grant turned to the neighbors. "You may resume normal activities. Thank you for your cooperation. All evidence has been noted." Shaw sat in silence. The street returned to its calm routine, but he remained frozen, staring at the dashboard, fully aware that the consequences of this day would follow him far beyond the morning SUNB by the end of the day. The story had already started circulating within the department. Witness accounts, body cam footage, and neighbor videos ensured that this incident could not be ignored. Jasmine's composure, the manager's verification, and the public witnesses had collectively dismantled Shaw's credibility. One harrowing stop had turned into a pivotal lesson. Authority abused is accountability earned. By late afternoon, the neighborhood had settled back into its usual quiet rhythm. Birds chirped, sprinklers clicked on, and the distant hum of traffic reminded everyone that life was moving on. But for Officer Derek Shaw, nothing felt normal. He sat alone in the cruiser, reviewing the events repeatedly in his mind. Every word, every witness, every phone recording pressed heavily on him. The authority he had taken for granted, the badge, the uniform, the assumed control, suddenly felt fragile, meaningless. Within hours, Internal Affairs contacted him. The department had reviewed the body cam footage, neighbor recordings, and Jasmine's statements. The conclusions were clear. He had harassed a civilian without cause, intimidated her with his weapon, and failed to follow proper protocol. Shaw was officially suspended pending investigation. Any hope of defending his actions would have to contend with multiple angles of evidence, including public witnesses who had recorded the confrontation from start to finish. Meanwhile, Jasmine had returned to her showing. She remained professional, confident, and focused. Nothing about her demeanor suggested that she had just endured a life-threatening situation. Her manager, Carla Simmons, stayed on the line, providing support and ensuring that all documentation was safely recorded. Later that evening, the department released a brief statement. Officer Derek Shaw has been suspended pending review for improper conduct during a traffic stop. The department takes these matters seriously. The news spread quickly through internal channels and eventually reached the local community. Neighbors shared their videos online. Social media buzzed with commentary about accountability, professionalism, and the contrast between calm composure and reckless authority. Jasmine reflected on the events quietly. She had followed protocol, maintained composure, and allowed evidence to speak for itself. One phone call, combined with professionalism and witness support, had ensured that justice was served. She didn't celebrate. She simply returned to work with the knowledge that one wrongful act could not overshadow integrity and truth. Shaw, on the other hand, faced the stark reality of his career being in jeopardy. His actions had consequences far beyond a single traffic stop. Every misstep, every intimidation tactic, every unwarranted display of force had been captured, scrutinized, and recorded. In the end, this incident became a case study within the department, a cautionary tale about authority misused and the importance of accountability. For Jasmine, life continued. For Shaw, life had irrevocably changed. The badge he wore could no longer shield him from the consequences of his actions. The quiet suburban street had returned to normal, but the memory lingered. Truth, calmness, and evidence can overpower intimidation and misconduct. If this story made an impact, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so more people can see the power of accountability. Comment below where you're watching from. Your voice matters, and your support keeps these stories alive.